Stop chasing money for one night and watch what starts chasing you. Napoleon Hill explained why this works. Maybe you're exhausted from doing everything right and still feeling like provision never arrives the way it should. You work, you plan, you put in the effort, yet the flow feels blocked, as if money has the wrong address. At night, when your body asks for rest, your mind speeds up replaying bills, deadlines, decisions, and peace disappears. That's exactly where many people lose alignment with prosperity without even realizing it. What almost no one tells you is that the moment before sleep is a silent gateway between the conscious mind and the inexhaustible source that sustains all abundance. In that space, the frequency shifts, the heart lowers its guard, and applied faith finds fertile ground. This isn't about repeating empty affirmations or forcing results. It's about adjusting the address of provision, surrendering the path, and allowing the flow to find you with lightness, dignity, and trust. In this content, you'll discover why a single night can initiate a real shift in your relationship with money, how to align thought, faith, and inspired action, and why the smallest inevitable action done in the right state is worth more than years of disordered effort. This isn't magic. It's order. It's not anxiety, it's serenity. And if you allow it, this experience can begin reconfiguring your financial identity starting today. Alignment with prosperity begins when you stop treating money as an external problem and start seeing it as a flow that responds to your internal frequency. It's not about chasing, it's about tuning the channel. When mind and spirit walk out of alignment, provision may try to arrive, but it meets interference along the way. Prosperity favors order, clarity, and a well-defined identity. Where there is peace, there is passage. Many people pray for abundance but think, feel, and act from scarcity all day long. This conflict creates a silent spiritual short-circuit. Alignment happens when applied faith, coherent thinking, and a minimal conscious action move in the same direction. It's like changing the delivery address of provision. The source doesn't change, the point of reception does. And the good news is that this starts with a simple step, not with great sacrifices. In practical terms, alignment means becoming aware of what you've been declaring, tolerating, and imagining about money. Do your words carry trust or fear? Do your thoughts create openness or resistance? A powerful first exercise is establishing a daily base declaration, short and honest, that generates serenity instead of anxiety. This small internal adjustment prepares the ground for something greater, because before abundance manifests externally, it must find space within. Applied faith is not beautiful language or catchy phrases, it's a daily posture. The Bible speaks of provision, abundance, and supply as something alive and in motion, connected to trust and faithfulness, not desperation. When Scripture says that God will provide, it points to an inexhaustible source that responds to the alignment of the heart. Faith isn't asking with anxiety, it's acting with serenity, knowing there is a greater order sustaining the flow. The kingdom of God operates through simple yet profound principles: seed, action, circulation, and right timing. Nothing happens outside this logic. When you understand this, you stop begging and start cooperating. Applied faith shows up when you do your part with honor, lightness, and dignity without trying to control the outcome. It's about surrendering the path, not abandoning responsibility. Inner rest is often the clearest sign of real trust. In practice, biblical faith applied to money means aligning small actions with eternal values. Organizing what comes in and what goes out as a kind of spiritual accounting, honoring feasible commitments, practicing gratitude before results appear, and maintaining a daily declaration of trust. This kind of faith creates a safe internal environment where provision can manifest. And when faith moves from theory into routine, something begins to quietly realign within. The mindset taught by Napoleon Hill is based on a simple yet powerful principle: prosperity doesn't arise from chance, it is born from a definite desire sustained by unwavering faith. For him, wanting money isn't enough, you must know why you want it, what it's for, and who you are becoming in the process. When that defined purpose exists, the mind begins working as an active channel rather than an anxious blockage. He'll explain that directed imagination and daily autosuggestion are bridges between the invisible and the visible. The sixth sense, that quiet intuition, only emerges when the mind is not at war with itself. That's why excessive force weakens results. The right mindset blends persistence with lightness, action with serenity. It's not about pressuring the flow, it's about sustaining the right frequency long enough for life to respond. In practice, this mindset is built through simple habits: conscious reading of books like Think and Grow Rich, daily writing of your burning desire, and repetition of declarations that reinforce identity and trust. Hill taught that the mind believes what is repeated with emotion and consistency. This daily training prepares the internal ground for something essential. When the mind accepts, the path begins to reveal itself, and that's where guided sensory visualization comes in. Sensory visualization isn't fantasy, it's identity training. When you visualize with detail, emotion, and presence, the brain begins to treat that reality as possible and safe. It's not about imagining money falling from the sky, it's about feeling the peace of organized finances, the lightness of choosing without fear, and the confidence of knowing provision flows. The mind responds more to sensations than to numbers, and that's where frequency begins to adjust. The key is engaging all the senses: what you see, hear, feel in your body, even the rhythm of your breath. Imagine yourself handling resources with dignity, honor, and serenity. Notice the environment, the tone of your voice, the posture of your body. This kind of directed imagination creates a powerful emotional anchor that pulls the mind out of survival mode and aligns it with abundance. It's autosuggestion, not illusion. In practice, set aside 2 or 3 minutes before sleep or upon waking. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and guide the scene calmly, without rushing. If the mind wanders, gently return. Writing these images in a signs journal helps reinforce the process. This visualization prepares the ground for something equally important: clearing old beliefs that sabotage the flow, which is exactly what comes next. Many people try to attract prosperity while carrying old wounds around money, and that weighs more than they realize. Debt, losses, past mistakes, and even phrases heard in childhood create silent beliefs that block the flow. Clearing these beliefs isn't denying reality, it's removing the emotional weight that keeps the body in constant alert. Where there is guilt and resentment, provision meets resistance. Financial forgiveness begins when you recognize that you did the best you could with the level of awareness you had at the time. Forgiving yourself is an act of dignity, not complacency. When you release these burdens, something rearranges internally: the mind relaxes, the frequency shifts, and alignment becomes possible. Prosperity doesn't coexist with self-punishment, flows best in environments of peace and trust. In practice, write a simple letter to money. It may sound strange, but it works. Express what hurt, what you learned, and declare a new internal order for your relationship with it. Tear up the letter or place it in your signs journal as a symbol of closure. This gesture clears the emotional channel and prepares you to act differently. And when the weight lifts, space opens for the next step: inspired, minimal, inevitable action. Prosperity doesn't respond to rushing, it responds to the right action taken in the right state. The minimal inevitable action is that simple step that emerges when mind and heart are aligned. It's not action driven by anxiety, but the one that feels obvious after you quiet down. When internal clarity exists, the next action almost presents itself without drama, without heaviness. Many people get stuck because they think they need to do something huge, when the flow is actually asking for one honest gesture. It might be a phone call, a price adjustment, a resume sent, content published, or a conversation postponed for months. Inspired action respects divine timing, but it isn't passive. It's born from applied faith and trust that the right movement opens the next path. In practice, ask yourself daily: what simple step is asking for passage today? Write the answer down without judgment. Execute it without exaggerated expectation. This small obedience shifts your frequency, strengthens your identity, and activates the channel of provision. And when action is taken in peace, it naturally awakens something powerful, intelligent gratitude, which sustains the flow long term. Intelligent gratitude isn't pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's honestly recognizing what is already in motion. When you give thanks consciously, you signal to both mind and spirit that the flow is active. This shifts frequency, creates alignment, and strengthens applied faith. True gratitude doesn't ignore challenges, it simply refuses to let them define your identity. The Signs Journal becomes a simple yet powerful tool of daily autosuggestion. In it, you record small advances, coincidences, ideas that arise, unexpected gestures, doors that open even subtly. This trains the mind to perceive provision in circulation, not only big results. Prosperity is built in the details, not just in dramatic outcomes. In practice, take 2 minutes a day to write down 3 signs of abundance or learning. It might be an unexpected discount, a productive conversation, or a clear insight after prayer. This habit creates an emotional anchor of trust and reinforces the sense that you're not alone in the process. And when gratitude sustains the path, something inevitable happens: the natural desire to keep the flow moving through strategic generosity. Strategic generosity isn't giving out of guilt or emotional impulse. It's understanding that whatever stagnates decays, and whatever circulates stays alive. When you release resources, time, attention, money, knowledge with awareness and honor, the flow recognizes the movement. Provision interprets circulation as trust, not loss. That's how abundance stays alive. Many people want to receive more but hold on to everything out of fear. That fear closes the channel. Strategic generosity is giving without disorganizing yourself, respecting limits and purpose. It might mean helping someone, supporting an aligned project, or investing in something that expands your identity. When the gesture comes from peace rather than obligation, it becomes a seed, and every seed returns multiplied in its own time. In practice, choose one weekly gesture of conscious circulation. Define a value, a time, or an action, and execute it with gratitude. No boasting, no expectation of applause. This movement educates the subconscious mind to trust the inexhaustible source. And when circulation becomes a habit, the need arises to protect this new internal state, which leads us to shielding yourself from saboteurs. When prosperity begins to flow, saboteurs appear, usually in subtle ways. Automatic thoughts, outside comments, silent comparisons, and impulses that drain energy. Shielding yourself isn't isolating from the world, it's protecting your frequency. Prosperity requires alignment, and alignment requires clear internal and external boundaries. A common saboteur is negative autosuggestion disguised as realism. Phrases like "this won't last," "it was just luck," or "this isn't for me" quietly erode trust. This is where the antidote card comes in: a short written declaration, repeated whenever the mind tries to sabotage. Something like, "Provision flows when I act with peace and faithfulness." Simple, direct, effective, a 90-second protocol to interrupt the cycle. In practice, observe what most throws you off balance: people, environments, times of day, content. Adjust gently, without confrontation. Shielding is a daily choice, not a battle. By protecting your identity and serenity, you sustain the flow more consistently. And with this field protected, it becomes easier to deepen the practice, especially at the most sensitive time of day-night. Night is when the conscious mind lowers its guard and the subconscious takes over. That's why going to sleep without a ritual is like leaving the door open for worries to walk in. The 7-minute night ritual isn't mystical or complicated, it's an alignment adjustment. It signals to the body that it's safe, to the mind that it can rest, and to the spirit that the flow continues even during sleep. This ritual acts as an internal command. First, you slow down. Then, you reorganize frequency. Finally, you surrender the path. 7 minutes are enough to change the emotional state of the entire day. When done with presence, this small practice creates peace, strengthens applied faith, and prepares the mind to receive insights, solutions, and signs while you sleep. In practice, divide it like this: 2 minutes of conscious breathing, 2 minutes of intelligent gratitude reviewing the day's signs, 2 minutes of gentle sensory visualization, and 1 minute of your base declaration. No phone. No news. Just you, silence, and intention. This ritual closes cycles without weight and opens space for the next natural step, organizing everything into a simple, sustainable 7-day plan. A 7-day plan isn't meant to force results, it's meant to create rhythm. When you organize small practices throughout the week, the mind understands there's direction, and the body exits urgency mode. This plan is simple, light, and inevitable because it respects the natural flow of change. Prosperity favors consistency, not disordered intensity. In the first days, the focus is alignment and clearing base declarations in the morning, intelligent gratitude at night, and one minimal inevitable action per day. Midweek introduces conscious circulation, the signs journal, and awareness of saboteurs. In the final days, you reinforce sensory visualization, refine the night ritual, and strengthen trust in the process. Nothing here requires heroic effort, only presence and faithfulness. In practice, write the plan on visible paper, not as pressure, but as an anchor. If you miss a day, resume the next without guilt. The goal isn't perfection, it's continuity. 7 days are enough for the mind to recognize a new identity pattern, and when that happens, something begins moving quietly within, preparing you to sustain this path beyond the initial week. After walking this path, you may realize that real change was never about doing more but about aligning better. How many times did you try to force results and only find exhaustion? And how often, when you slowed down, did peace return and the flow reorganize? Prosperity doesn't respond to haste, it responds to identity. When alignment exists, provision finds its address. What you've learned here doesn't demand perfection, it asks for presence. Small gestures done with applied faith, conscious gratitude, and inspired action hold more power than big plans fueled by anxiety. The inexhaustible source isn't far away, it responds when you act with dignity, honor, and trust. The question that remains is simple, yet profound: what small step will you choose to practice today? Remember, what is meant for you doesn't require desperation, it requires faithfulness to the process. As Napoleon Hill taught, when definite desire, directed imagination, and unwavering faith walk together, life begins to cooperate. So practice. Observe the signs. Adjust your course with lightness. And allow yourself to receive. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every week, you'll find practical reflections, simple protocols, and guidance that strengthen faith, calm the mind, and align you with real prosperity.